bit later on, Levi Roots and McQueen, who will give you a very useful perspective on what they've done. But perhaps the most important thing is that this is your event. This is your chance to ask any questions that you want answered of how they did it, and actually also what King's can do to support you as you move forward in trying to develop your entrepreneurial career.
What I'll try to cover in some detail is, first and foremost, I'm sorry to break the bad news, why we're actually living in quite a broken world, where a lot of things aren't working out, and where we're in a spot of bother at best. The second thing I want to talk about is the unique position we're actually in, because of being young, because of being in a particular juncture of time and space. Universities, in my view, are key to actually bolstering those opportunities to address those problems, to change the way in which we're going to be living 10, 15 years' time, to make sure that the society we're going to inherit is the one we actually want to live in. I thought about things that were very common in my life, the Facebooks of this world, the Googles of this world, the laptop I was working on, the music I was listening to. And I realized that a lot of that had actually been paradigmatic and had shifted the way people looked at things. It had pushed through an ideal with quite a lot of audacity and boldness, and gone forward and gone about not opposing things, but creating things, proposing things, trying to make sure that the change they wanted to see ultimately was the one that manifested itself by empowering other people to create that change. What if we tried to oppose things in society that we thought were wrong, not by yelling the loudest, but by proposing a far better alternative? What if we created products that people actually used and that addressed these problems more effectively than the ones we thought didn't? The point for me is that entrepreneurship as such is not an instrument, it's not an institution, it's an attitude, it's a way you go about things. It's a vantage point at which you look at change, and you can do that with policy, you can do that with the economy, you could do that with products, you could do that with any single thing around you. But the idea is to be problem solving and to try to push a boundary in it.
Somebody put some music in the food for me. Give me some reggae sauce. Hot reggae sauce. It's so nice, I have to name it twice. I call it reggae sauce. Hot reggae sauce. Just like my baby, it is the perfect delight. It's got some peppers and some herbs and spice. Me want some reggae.
If you were one of these 5 drivers, I can get you full. And here comes a Rasta man, 3-foot-long dreadlocks, from Brixton, and he says he has a fucking sauce called Reggie sauce. Would you invest? I thought not. Because I wouldn't. No. Why would I? The market just wasn't ready for it yet. Enterprising. That's what it was about. Newness. And of course at the time, when I went to Dragons Den, I didn't even know what the fuck enterprising meant. Every time I said enterprising, I thought it was Star Trek you're talking about. Because that's what Star Trek says. Boldly going where no one had gone before. Come on, man. And that is what enterprising is. I was like going into the bank manager and saying, excuse me, Mr. Bank Manager, I've got the fantastic Levi Roots reggae sauce. It's my grandmother's recipe. I'm from Clarendon, Jamaica, and I'm fabulous. I've got my husband bow tie suit on, and I'm looking my bling and everything like that. And he says, yes, Levi, will you present your thing to me? I'd be like, tick goes the top, Rolex my watch. So, in front of the bloody bank manager. I'd be like rapping like a Jamaican, and of course the next thing I do is get the fuck out of here. For years I wondered why I couldn't get the investment. Because I was being innovative. And I was being Levi Roots. So I went to see my Rasta friends, of course, to see if I can get some kind of vibes from them. Because I was at a loss. I'm thinking that nobody likes the name of the sauce. Nobody likes the fact that I'm trying to say, put some music in the food. How the hell do you do that? So my Rasta friends were saying, Levi, don't call it reggae sauce, please. It's too black, it's too Jamaican, and it's too Rasta. I said, hang on a minute, that's fucking meat. I want to be innovative. I want to be enterprising. I don't want to change. But Marley never bloody changed. So you can imagine by the time I'd actually got round to Dragons, then the struggle was bad. Because everywhere I went, nobody thought it was a good idea. Everybody thought that we had 2 black Jamaican and 2 Rasta. But I wanted to sell me. I wanted to say to my mom, look mom, I'm really short of about 20 quid. I'm going to the most life-changing part of my life. Can you lend me 20 quid? But I didn't even get the words out of my mouth. She says, go and read your bloody Bible. She says, you go and read Psalm 23 where it says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Because you're always coming around here and saying you want 20 quid. You go to him and you say that. I must have been the first guy that got on Dragons Den and didn't even hear about the show. So anyway, I just relied on the fact that I'm going to slay these dragons. So I looked at Richard Farley because I didn't know what to expect. That most people gone on the show and kind of mapped out which dragon they want to go to, depending on what kind of inventions they have. Now obviously with the food thing, I knew I should have gone for Peter, but I didn't know it was at the time. So Richard Farley heard that first verse, so nice with your fried chicken, make burgers, finger licking. And I took one little look out of my eye just to see what he was doing. And I saw Richard doing what I call a white man's jig. He was like, King's College, London, can you tell me that? What the hell was he doing that? But at the same time, when I saw him doing that, I knew this was like a sign. Because if you're going for investment, you're looking for some connection to do with, with your investor. So, I mean, that must have been some kind of new, yes, Levi, you're fantastic. But at the time, as a guy that goes to the dance and music was my thing, I knew this was some kind of weird jig that, otherwise, but he was doing that. And I thought, yes, at least I've got one dragon in the bag. Duncan took one look out of his Scottish eye and says, there is no business in the sauce. What do you think he thinks now, eh? He says there is no business in the sauce. So quickly moving along, but before I moved along, Theo threw the spanner in the works that I thought that I'd never want to hear. Because Theo was the guy now that was taking me back and making me realize that Dragons Den is a dangerous place. Because he said those immortal words, Levi Roots, what a wonderful name. Is that your real name? I was dreading that question. Because I remember in my youth, they listened back to Bob Marley. I'd ended up with the name Keith. And I just couldn't understand why a Jamaican mom and dad would give a bloody son named Keith. So I was dying for them not to ask me that. So Theo said that and I thought, oh Lord of mercy, please dig a hole in the ground and swallow me up right now. Because I'm not going to admit to being Keith, because I remember back in school, I couldn't find any famous Keiths. Well, I found a couple. I did find a couple. I did. Keith Richard. Yes, fantastic guitar player. Inspiration. Keith Moon. Yes, but then I thought Keith Chegwin and I thought, fuck that. So when Theo grumbled it for me, I thought this was my moment, was just like completely gone. But you know what? Peter Jones wasn't invested in Keith. He wasn't even invested in reggae sauce. Because he stood up, if you remember, and he said that he's never tried anything hot before. He doesn't know if it was the sauce or not, but he's about to take a punt. Yes. He didn't get up and dance. He didn't do like what Richard Farley was like doing his thing. But he said the immortal words of Levi, I know somebody I can introduce you to. Yes. Innovative, enterprising was about to happen. Because Peter knew that in order for me to get from over there, which is where Keith was, got me in all kind of trouble, couldn't focus over the years. Peter Jones came over to where Levi Roots is. He didn't invest in the sauce. He invested in Levi Roots. And the rest, ladies and gentlemen, is history. And the message is, you can be anybody. You can come from anywhere. You can come from anywhere and say to your mom, Mom, can I borrow 20 quid to go and change my life? And she says, I'm not giving you money, I'm giving you a prayer. What do you think about that? Because the strength really is in my own beliefs. 6 years ago, Dragons, then I went in and I came out another person. But really, I was already there. You do not need to change. That's what it's about, ladies and gentlemen. And if there's anything that you can take from my story, it's all within there. If you can take part of that in your lives, then brilliant. But if you can't do that, then write to me and I'll lend you my regular song. Thank you very much.
Thanks ever so much for having me here this evening. It's really appreciated. A little bit like Levi, to be fair, I'm going to tell you a bit about my background, my story really. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. It's not made up, so I can't do anything about it if you don't enjoy it, I'm afraid. Just sit for, I won't waffle on too long. I've been invited here because obviously I won the Apprentice, as you know, from the VTs. Anyone watch the Apprentice? A few of you, yeah? Well, that's good. It's that moment when the room goes deathly silent and you think, hang on a minute, I'm having a mare. I grew up in a council house over in northwest London, a place called South Wycett. That's actually the house that I grew up in. My mum's a doctor's receptionist, my dad's a milkman. Why do I tell you this? I'm a driven guy. I'm driven to trying to be successful. My education was bad, very bad. I left school as a 16-year-old with just GCSEs. Didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. I got one C grade, A to C grade, that was it. The rest of them were D's and E's. And if I'm honest, there was more E's, a couple of F's thrown in there, than there was D's. So I went back, in all great education establishments, I went back and I'd done a BTEC first, as it was then called, in information technology. My feeling was I messed up big time, and trying to get a strong education is really, really important. I know I make a bit of a jest of it, but it's actually something I've got a real strong complex about. I grew up in an era where university was absolutely paramount. If you didn't go to university, in my world, and where I grew up in my era, then you was basically failing already. Something that, you know, some of you might have some views on and agree with or not agree with, but that was the fact. So ultimately, coming out of school with no qualifications, not given my chance to go to university, was almost a failure already. So that was the plan. I'd get myself back on track. I'd go through further education to get into equivalent of A-levels and go to university. But at the age of 18, that was all put to bed. I had to leave. My parents split up when I was 17. As a 17-year-old, throwing money down the drain, I couldn't understand why people would rent. So a little bit like Levi, actually, cheeky chappy that I am. I went to my bank manager, not with my guitar, but I banged on his door. Hello, Mr. Bank Manager, I'd like a mortgage, please. And of course he said, wait a minute, we don't just give out mortgages, do we? You know, you need to do something, you need to have a plan, you need to have an understanding, you need to have revenue. I says, right, tell me what I need to do. Tell me what I need to do in order for me to get a mortgage, because I'm not paying money monthly and just throwing it down the drain. I want to have some sort of investment. So he told me what I needed to do. I went away. I worked 2 jobs. I got the revenue that I needed to be able to borrow, and I got my mortgage. So I had to make a sacrifice early on, but I used it as an opportunity. I innovated in terms of, a lot of people would have said, parents are split up, got to go out on my own. Oh my God, what am I going to do? That's finished. But I looked at it as an opportunity, as Seb was talking about earlier as well, as looking at things as an opportunity. The second thing, of course, as an 18-year-old single man, or boy, lad, hello, own place, you do the math. An opportunity come up, and so lots of my friends were in recruitment, they were telling me, oh, you know, I'm earning this amount of money, I'm earning that amount of money. I'm thinking, hang on a minute, why are you doing that? What qualifications have you got to do recruitment? What do you have to do? Why do you have to, you have to talk to people all day, you have to find people jobs, you have to sell. Oh, hello, sell? I think I could do that. So I quit my job in catering, and I went and started at the bottom rung of the ladder in recruitment. And as the graphics suggest, I've got over 12 years recruitment experience now, and 8 years as an employer. So the point that Levi made earlier, and I think Seb touched upon it as well, if I can do it, personally, if I can do it, anyone can. And this is the great thing about my story. For me, it's about gaining confidence and having that ability to, if you innovate, if you have that courage, for want of a better word, to actually keep going and wanting to do something, you can achieve. £32 million turnover business. Me? Wow, sometimes still can't believe it, but what it does is drives me on. What never ceases to amaze me about the candidates and the Apprentice, and for those of you who watch the show, it is a TV show, first and foremost. I'm sure that Levi will subscribe to that, you know, from a TV perspective. But everybody's got an ego, including myself. That's why I'm standing in the first place talking about my tennis court. But equally, 16 people all wanting to win, but having all very different strategies about how to win. Now, a lot of people think, backstabbing and talking behind people's backs and trying to make the other person look bad is the best strategy to win, when actually the easiest strategy, the best plan to have, is to work together as a team. Because here's the irony, right? If you work together as a team and you win, you can't get fired. Yeah, it's a simple equation, right? But not bad, again, for someone who hasn't got a very good education. It's very interesting listening to what you said, Levi, before, around, be yourself and being true to yourself. I didn't know what else to do in The Apprentice other than be me. Now, I didn't know what else to do. Now, I had very good relationship building skills from my days in recruitment. I had good skills around unearthing business opportunities or selling, for want of a better word. And I had really good team skills, being able to work together closely in a team. So for me, that's what I did. That's what my plan was. But we had to do presentations and that sort of stuff. And I thought I was pretty good at presentations. I'm sure you'll give me feedback later. And at the time on The Apprentice, I was bloody appalling. And I nearly blew it, and I was so nervous. I was up and down, pacing up and down for the final, making sure that, I'm in the top 4, I'm in the final, I could go and win this. And to go head to head with people that have got degrees, to go head to head to people that have got experience, that are earning more money than me, and being in that environment, and to beat effectively 20,000 candidates and get to the end to win was phenomenal. All I've talked to you about really today so far is by having a plan, having a strategy, having a plan to win The Apprentice, having a plan to go and get my mortgage. We're talking about enterprise, we're talking about innovation. To truly innovate is one thing, but to truly take on enterprise and to build an enterprise is about having a plan. You don't go and build a house without putting the foundations in, right? So what now? I'm very proud. I run a company called Raw Talent Academy. I'd like to say that I put back into the community, and to a certain degree I do, but I do get paid for it. I'm a businessman, and that's what I want to do. I want to earn money. The graphic says we're an award-winning business. We are. We just won an award for the best new business in Oxfordshire, of which I'm very proud of. That's the county that we're based in. We actually find people sales opportunities in corporate sales or jobs, effectively, or recruitment business that wouldn't ordinarily get looked at because if their CV's not right or their education's not right, or that, again, similar to what Levi said, their background might not be right. And what we do is we take them people as raw talent, we polish them up, we make them superstars or potential superstars, and then we deploy them into organisations that are looking for the next superstars in sales. And this year we're on target to do 760,000. So doubling our turnover year on year from a business that effectively I set up in a shed in my back garden is phenomenal, which is why I like sharing that piece with you. And coming back to innovation, come back to enterprise, it's that desire, it's that want, it's that ability to know that you've got a good idea. The biggest piece of advice I would give anyone, if I can be so bold, is if you have got a business idea that you want to go into, get it critiqued. And don't ask your friend or your mum or your dad, is this a really good idea? Go and ask the people that you don't want to get the feedback from. Go and ask the people that are going to give you the real truth, to say, actually, your product's rubbish, or this doesn't work, or you should change it like this, or this solution isn't very good. Because they're the people that are going to streamline how good your business can be. Seb certainly talked about knowledge at our fingertips, the amount of people that are on Twitter and social media and Facebook. I think what we need to understand as budding entrepreneurs, as people that are looking to go into business and to run successful companies, is that knowledge is power. And if we have the knowledge about our clients, about our candidates, about our business, about where to get investment, how to go about it, that's massively powerful for what we can do and how we can go and achieve. Thanks very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Who's in control of your business? You or the dragons?
That's a very good question, actually. And it's going to be known that the dragons invested, but my main aim at the time when the dragons invested was when I could actually have my shares back. So part of the plan was actually to get back the shares that the dragons had brought. And 18 months after, Dragons Den, I managed to buy back my shares from Richard Farley. The dragons was doing the white.
I was doing that one. I was doing that when you were singing it.
But I think with Peter, I don't think I would ever want Peter out. I wouldn't want to buy him out, and I wouldn't wish for him to want out. Because you remember my last advice there was a mentor was the key thing in any business. And I think Peter is my mentor, and his value is not as an investor, his value in the way that he's mentored me. I think that's the key thing. So I'd always want Peter.
I got a question for you, Lee. I'm curious about your business metrics. So you were saying you previously ran a recruitment consultancy with 30 people turning over around 30 million, which I think is a very impressive amount. If you have 30 people and they're coming over £1 million of business each. Your current business now, you said, around 12 people turning over less than £1 million. Can you explain why the metrics of the revenue per head are so different, and what vision you have for it? Is the aim to get that up to £1 million per head, and how are you going to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Good question, by the way. 32 million turnover business is a turnover, so we all know in the business world that turnover's vanity and net profit is sanity, right? So ultimately, the net profit on that 32 million turnover business is £1.15 million. It's a contracted business, so we have a lot of revenue. So anyone that knows anything about recruitment, you have permanent recruitment and you have temp recruitment. The business that I was running was heavily involved in temp recruitment, hence the turnover was very heavy. The business that I run now is solely perm focused. So the 760,000 that we'll do this year is GP, and out of that, a net profit will be converted probably of about 70% of that. So actually, pound for pound, if you like, from the two businesses, they're not far away from each other. I mean, obviously, maybe I didn't clarify enough. The 32 million turnover business that I was working for was for a corporate organisation, so I was a business manager managing that business. It was never my own. This is now my own business. And talking about plans and talking about where my business plan is, and Levi talking about business plans, my 5-year plan for Raw Talent Academy is to get £1 million net. So 3 million turnover, £1 million net, be a 33% conversion, and ultimately we're on track to do that. But in order for us to do that, we need to double our turnover year on year in order for that to happen. Now, obviously, the percentage dynamic will change based on the fact that more staff means more overheads and therefore less net profit. Less net profit. But ultimately, that's what we're looking to do. I haven't got an exit strategy with my business. I never set my business up. I'd be interested to know if you did, Levi, at all, but I've never set my business up to sell. But ultimately, as the business grows and it becomes more attractive to acquire by bigger organisations, that might be the route that we go down. Hope that answers your question.
I think 3 years ago, 2 years, in Excel, there was a case study about ready sauce, and I'm really interested in how did it happen. Like, Excel just called you saying like, "Hi, we want to write a case study about you," or did you pay you, or how was it made?
Well, I think one of the biggest controversies that sort of was surrounding, myself at the time, of coming out of the show, was the fact that I'd risen so fast, and I literally came from nowhere. And when I thought that, as this old saying, when you think it's peace and safety, is a sudden destruction. And when I thought everything was fine, I did what I promised that I would do, outsell Lions to market catch up, which for me, that's one of the most proudest thing that we've managed to do. But after 2 years, there was a massive court case involving myself and a few friends of mine who I'd sort of been working with for years and years. And one of the key lessons that I learned at the time, and I hopefully a lot of people learned from my court case, was that you have to protect yourself, and I didn't do that in the first part of it, and especially like taking, a loan from friends and friends coming into your business and you're taking advice. You got to be very careful of that. I wanted to make it so much that at the time I would have taken a loan or some money from anybody to sort of help me to take up the business. Big mistake, and it came back to bite me in the ass basically. And it cost me nearly £1 million to actually clear my name and to sort of move on to another place. But it was a vital learning ground for anybody that, you talk about protection of your brand, protection of what you say, protection from other people. Very important, big lesson for me.
these events should be going on all over the country. These events are a fantastic way to start meeting like-minded people, to start sharing ideas. Who knows, somebody could have been sitting next to somebody who in 2 years' time might be their business partner. So for me, you know, the world's their oyster from that perspective. Educating people on enterprise and how to go about things, sharing ideas and networking is crucial to our economy in the future. So ultimately, I love these sorts of things. I'm really pleased that you invited me down.
I think today's been fantastic, fabulicious actually, which is that mix between delicious and fantastic. Delicious because it's fantastic that, you know, young people are here thinking about entrepreneurship. I think it starts here. I talked a lot about mentoring, but really mentoring starts in schools, university, colleges, where you're at the point where you can feed yourself as much information as possible, ready for you to make that next step in the business world.
The great thing is it cuts a nice mix between what you get in terms of how to go about things, but also a lot about just having a few people that can either be mentors, that can just guide the path a bit. I think that's a really, really good thing, and I think it's a very welcoming opening format.
Well, yeah, the speakers were incredibly inspiring and very, very passionate about what they're doing, which is incredibly important.
This one by far has been really inspirational. It's been Levi Roots and McQueen, very inspirational speakers, and they've really, I think the audience really listened very, very well, and so much value came across. And definitely one of the best events I've been to.
Respect.